So, Gary, Indiana has been out of power for the last 12 days now, since August 11th, because of a major windstorm. Huge major city. Notice that the stories on Gary, Indiana haven't come out until like a day ago. You can even look at more news. You don't see any news stories, like maybe one from back on August 21st. This happened back on the 11th. These people have been out of power for more than a week. Didn't make national news. I think part of the reason for that is because it's going to become more and more as our infrastructure crumbles in the US because it's not being very well maintained. The Democrats and the Republicans are terrible stewards of the country, which means that they are not keeping up with infrastructure. They would rather give benefits to the companies that paid them off to get into the positions they are than actually maintain the roads, actually maintain the bridges, and the energy infrastructure that we need to maintain a country. As such, you're going to see probably, well, I was going to say you're going to see more stories like this, but I think they're going to get covered up more and more, where they just don't get reported because the mainstream media doesn't want to bother putting up these things that make the people in power that they inevitably work as an arm, as a propaganda arm for, look bad.
Customers still without power in your city. You know, you've got relatively mild temperatures in the 70s outside, but people need power for, more than air conditioning. They need lights, powering their cell phones, perhaps even their electric ovens and stoves, medical devices. So how are they coping?
Well, folks are extremely frustrated and fearful. We're doing the best we can as in my administration to give them the comfort knowing that we're going to apply as much pressure as possible on the utility company to restore power as soon as possible. 99-mile-an-hour winds that rip through northern Indiana, 99 miles that hit the hardest in the city of Gary, where trees have destroyed homes, cars, you named it. 38,000 customers of NIPSCO has been without power. Gary is a 68,000 population city.
Yeah, it's understandable why the power got knocked out given the conditions that you just, helped express. But then people want to know, why is it taking so long in order to get the power back up? I know you said you've applied pressure.
And let's just be real. It's a primarily POC and black area, and it's also very democratic. So if you remember, Trump was saying he was going to cut funding to FEMA, to disaster relief, to infrastructure hardening around democratic areas. And this is one of the areas that he's basically lashing out at U.S. citizens for him not being hailed as the king he wanted to be hailed as. Absolutely sick behavior. Obviously, to some extent, because they're black as well. And as we know, primarily black areas in the U.S., they get redlined. They don't get the same infrastructure. They don't get the same attention as other areas due to some ingrained racism that we have here in the U.S.
But what has been the response? What do you think is really at issue, even after applying pressure, as to why power's not back on?
Well, the question is, in terms of the city of 50 square miles, Gary is probably the largest geographic area throughout NIPSCO's footprint from a city's perspective. And we believe that we didn't have enough electrical linemen on the ground, vegetation crews on the ground to address this issue. Right now, we've requested as of yesterday more linemen, and we're starting to see that come in now. So right now we have about 430 electrical linemen, another 200 to 300 vegetation crews helping to detangle the trees out of the electrical line so power can be restored. It's going to take time. I understand that, and I get it, but it has to take the manpower with boots on the ground to get the job done.
I mean, they essentially have to rebuild their power infrastructure almost from the ground up, because we're talking about like 99 mile per hour winds. Let's see. We have another statement from the mayor here.
I want to begin by thanking everyone
statement
for your continued patience.
This is an insane thing to have happen to a U.S. city, and for it to go completely unaddressed, and for national aid to not go to restore this. By the way, when you're staring down the barrel of 12 days with no power, that also means every grocery store around you doesn't have power. There's no refrigerated goods. You're working purely off dry goods. Anybody at the hospital, good luck. You're pumping ventilators by hand, if you can even do that. People are having to leave the area to get medical care, which is jamming up medical care in every surrounding area. And people just can't live. You don't think about all the functions that you don't get if you don't have power. If you're lucky, maybe somebody around you or yourself has a generator that people can do some basic power stuff with if they can get oil in during this time as well. But there's also, all that gas that's going to be used, or diesel, depending on the generator, that's going to be used to make that power. Also, costs are through the roof, so they're paying out the nose for that. And it's hard to get help because without the electronics, you're also probably your phone batteries are dead. You're not getting cell service because the cell towers are potentially down or damaged, that kind of thing. So
recovery from this recent storm that took place on August 11th. Look, we're at day 12, and 12 days is too long for families to be without power. 12 days is too long for parents to worry about their children, and for businesses to lose revenue, and for families to wonder when the relief is finally going to come.
I wonder from this how many grocery stores are going to go out of business because they can't sell hardly anything. Like I said, besides dry goods, over half their inventory they can't sell for the last 12 days. So curious how many of those are going to go out of business in this area and have to just get picked up by big box stores. You're going to see mom and pop stores close and the big box stores sweep in and take over all the property because they can buy it for super cheap.
People of Gary to know this. I want you to know that I share that frustration. I've stayed in strict communications with NIPSCO, and I have made it very clear that the current pace of restoration is unacceptable. It's unacceptable for the thousands of Gary residents who remain in the dark. While NIPSCO has set a target date of August 25th for full restoration, power is still being restored as we speak right now. And I am still pressing them to fully restore Gary's power before the August 25th date, which is this Tuesday. As you know, every day I've urged NIPSCO to add more field crews to Gary's restoration process. Currently, Gary has 700 linemen and 300 vegetation crews to help expedite our efforts, bringing the full workforce over to 1,000 boots on the ground. I want to send a special thanks to Governor Braun for the additional manpower he has sent at my request to help clear tree debris for the power restoration process. My team is in constant communication with the county, the state, as well as NIPSCO to continue to ensure that things remain on track. As of this morning, Gary had 14,566 outages. As of 1 p.m. today, we're at 9,997. That's progress, but NIPSCO has so much more work to do. We've pushed them to do more and do it faster. I also want to encourage and thank ComEd from Illinois to sending their crews over. It's my expectation that every available resource in this region and throughout the nation come to this city to help restore power for Gary residents as quickly and as safely as possible.
So I think that we kind of get the gist of it here. He's just asking for more resources, asking for them to do it quicker. This is something where, like, the idea that a lot of power companies hold a monopoly and they have to abide by federal regulations, but they're not necessarily owned by the Fed is crazy to me. Because if this was owned by the Fed, it would be a federal issue, which means you drop everything in every surrounding area and you send all the linemen from basically all of Indiana over to Gary to help with this immediate issue because it's so proximal and it's so critical that everything else can wait. And then you redistribute them afterwards. It's one of the things that a centralized government can do better and react faster to than what we are currently seeing. That's besides all of the obvious, political corruption that we have in our current government that make them incompetent at solving even the smallest issue. The only people that we see governing competently would be like some Democrats, mostly progressives. You see Mamdani and stuff being able to fulfill the basic needs of the city and actually, starting to build something good over there. But then in most places, you're looking at rural hospital closures, dropping in staff for the the federal or the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, and like NOAA. And then we see the obvious effects of those. Like when you drop air traffic controllers, then we saw more plane crashes and more fatalities from that. You drop people from the FDA, and we see beef coming over the border that hadn't been inspected. And now we have to recall, like, what is it, 20,000 pounds of beef or something like that in the US. These are all just immediate effects of they did this thing, something bad happened. The most obvious bad thing happened, which is why, you see Republicans over and over again be the most incompetent leaders. And as much as they'll complain that the Democrats drive up the budget, you know what drives up the budget even more? Not getting income from your top 1%. It would be like a company saying, we have this product that's selling gangbusters, but we're not going to sell it. We're just going to cut off that product line. You're going to lose your company because you're going to cut your own income. And you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. So this is just one of those things where if we had a more competent government, they would be able to handle this, but they obviously can't. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's a depressing subject, but hopefully they will get power back by this Tuesday, which I think I'll be putting this video out like today or tomorrow. So they may have power pretty close to when this comes out. If you like the content, please like, subscribe. Every little bit helps. I'm a new channel and I don't take any money for ads or sponsorships or anything like that. I'm just giving you news as straight as I can, and I appreciate anything you do to help me out. Feel free to leave a comment. If you absolutely hated it, leave a comment anyway. Tell me how much you hated it, and we'll see what we can do there. Otherwise, I will see you on the next one. We're gonna move over to Tim Pool watching going through Jubilee 20v1. See you then.